Alrighty guys, Season 29 leveling guide to get you to max level as fast as possible. Down below in the description there is also a link to a Google Doc that has a written version of this that is broken down into 10 steps. You can follow along with that while you're starting your character. Step number 1, create your seasonal character and make sure you check the seasonal box. It is going to be devastating if you forget this step. Now that we've created our character, we're going to go to Game Settings, Challenge Rift, Save and close, start game. Make sure that you do not complete the challenge rift this week until the season has started on Friday. If you do it, you're going to be at a massive disadvantage. So you've created your seasonal character. Now you're going to go up here, hit the challenge obelisk, start the rift, and clear it as fast as you can. Once we're done, we're going to change to adventure mode. And I like to change the difficulty to master, and I'll get into why that is. Other people may choose to go with hard, and that is also an option, and we'll discuss that in just a moment. Once you've opened your seasonal character, there's going to be a little glowing icon down here that you're going to click to claim the Challenge Rift cache. This will go into your inventory. You want to open it up and claim all the items that drop on the ground. Next step, steal your follower's weapon. You'll notice that they do more damage than yours. We have 8.4 here versus 3.0. Go ahead and port to Bastion's Keep in Act 3 and run down to these vendors and just get yourself some starter gear to get going. You're actually going to have quite a lot of gold from completing that challenge rift, and so you should be able to buy gear pretty frequently throughout this process. Let's equip all of these, and then we're good to go. Okay, so we visited the vendors, we've bought some gear. Next up, we're going to port to the Ruins of Sescheron. This is in Act 3 right up here. Now let's get into the reason why I like to choose Master. Typically, I like to start the season by doing the snapshot method in the Eternal Woods right back here. Now this is optional. If you'd rather skip this step, you can either start the game on hard or normal mode and just go immediately for Kanai's Cube. But let's take a look at the snapshot method real quick. It's a great way to get some quick and easy levels. Once you've entered the Eternal Woods, what you're gonna do is you're gonna run around and you're not actually gonna kill anything at all. You're just going to explore the entire map. What this does is it freezes all of the enemies' levels at level 1 because we are discovering them at level 1. And so they're going to be very easy to clear, and we're on master difficulty, so we're going to gain a lot of experience by killing all of them. If you run into a cursed chest, make sure to activate it. This is going to ensure that the monsters that spawn out of it are level 1 while you're still exploring the map. If you hit it later, they're going to be a higher level and much more difficult to kill. Alright, now that we've explored most of the map, we're going to start killing enemies. They're all snapshotted at level 1, so they're going to be really easy to take out. Do your best to chain massacre bonuses. These are huge for experience. You're seeing that I'm up to 42 right now. Just do your best to keep this going. Try to chain enemies into each other so that you can keep this rope going. If you kill all the enemies in a pack too quickly without getting to the next pack, you're going to lose your massacre bonus. Alright, so we got 227, not too bad. This is going to boost us up to level 14 very quickly. It's most certainly possible to do even better than this if you get a really good chain going. But now let's move on to the next step. If you happen to do the snapshot method, at this point in time, I would actually recommend that you restart the game at normal or hard difficulty. Now that you've reset the game, go ahead and go to these merchants, see what they've got. You should be able to get some pretty decent upgrades here. Go ahead and buy some gear, and then we'll be ready to move on. After you've got your gear from the vendors, go ahead and port back to the Ruins of Sescheron. Now we're going to run up and go find the Elder Sanctum. Inside of the Elder Sanctum, we're going to be able to get Kanai's Cube, where we are going to extract legendary powers and use them on our characters. Okay, we've made our way through the Ruins of Sescheron, and now we're at the Elder Sanctum. Yours may not be lighting up like this. I just happen to have a bounty that led me straight there. Now we're going to go in to find Kanai's Cube. One thing to take note of is we're not really here for XP, so don't take too much time to kill all of the monsters. Don't let it slow you down too much. We're mostly just after the cube here. Alrighty, so we've made our way to Kanai's Cube. You're going to go ahead and click on it. It's going to drop a cube for you right here, and you'll be able to get your legendary powers going. Now for this next step, we're going to go ahead and go to the blacksmith, and we're going to craft a very specific level 70 yellow item to use the cube recipe to upgrade it to a legendary. I will leave a link down below in the description to this website, but this is an Icy Veins article that discusses exactly what you want to craft and then upgrade in the cube so that you can get the best possible legendary affix for your character. Since we're playing a crusader, we're going to go ahead and craft a one-handed flail. Make sure that you choose the rare one at the very top, which is going to be the level 71. This one happens to be showing at level 1 just because I am on a seasonal character on season 28. So we're going to go ahead and craft this and run over to the cube. Go ahead and do recipe number 3 of 11 to upgrade a rare item. Let's transmute, see what I get. We got a great roll. We got Joanna's Argument. Now the next step is to go to recipe 1 to extract a legendary power. One really important note here. If you get a bad legendary, don't use recipe number 1. Just cut your losses. You don't necessarily need to extract the power of a useless item. So we've extracted this into the cube, and now we're going to go ahead and put it on. Now we've got Joanna's argument. Let's move on. Now your next step is to visit Kadala and gamble your blood shards. If I'm not mistaken, you should get 475 out of the cache, so you've got quite a few to gamble to hopefully go for another legendary aspect that you can put in the cube. Once again, this Icy Veins article has details about what you're going to want to gamble on based on which class you're playing. So according to this, for Crusaders, if I did luck my way into Joanna's argument, which I did, I'm going to go ahead and gamble for Gabriel's Van Braces. Now you should have more blood shards than I will. I've only got 94 on this demo, but let's go ahead and see if I can get them. No such luck. If you happen to hit a good legendary affix while you are doing this, you can go ahead and wear the item until you've kind of out-leveled it, at which point you can extract it in the cube and use it as another legendary affix. Since I didn't happen to get it, we're just going to move on with Joanna's argument in the cube and nothing else. Okay, it's almost time to get to leveling up, but first we're going to go ahead and create a level 70 weapon. Now this part can be a little bit tricky, and so what you're going to want to do is craft a two-handed weapon that your class can use. Now it is very important that you do not pick the wrong type of weapon, and so let's talk about that real quick. I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of this example, and create a two-handed sword on the Crusader. I'm also going to create a two-handed flail. You do not want to do this, but I'm going to show you why you don't want to do this. Now the same rule would apply to a Barbarian, for example. You would not want to make a two-handed mighty weapon. If you are a Necromancer, you do not want to make a two-handed scythe. Now if we take a look at this level 70 item that I crafted, this is actually really good. So what you'll see on the secondary roll is that this has a 2.1% chance to blind on hit. It is absolutely essential that the item that you create has some kind of crowd control effect on the secondary affix. Do not go with one unless it does. If it happens to roll a non-CC affix on the secondary slot, you'll want to craft another one. You absolutely have to hit that. Fortunately, they're generally pretty common, and so it shouldn't be too big of a problem, but you may have to create an extra one and blow through some materials. Now, when we re-roll the secondary affix on this, you do not want to re-roll the one that has CC on it. You'll see that this can roll into so many different options. What we're trying to do is level requirement reduction. As you can see, if we roll off the monster kill, we only have 4 things that we can possibly hit, and level requirement reduction is one of them. So remember to keep the CC, roll off the other thing, go for level requirement reduction. And for a quick example for why we don't want to go for a two-handed class specific weapon, we can see here that this can roll maximum wrath. These class-specific weapons will always have some kind of resource roll that's associated with the secondary slot. Since we don't want one of those and we want to eliminate it from the pool, you're not going to want to use a class-specific weapon if you can avoid it. A quick note about the Demon Hunter: if you're making a two-handed bow, you'll notice that it can roll discipline on the secondary. So what you'll do is you'll actually create an alt character that is not a Demon Hunter. I like to use a Witch Doctor. You'll put the bow into the stash. Go ahead and grab the bow out of the stash while you're on the Witch Doctor and re-roll that secondary. You will not be able to hit maximum discipline as a roll if you're not on a Demon Hunter while re-rolling that bow. So let's get rid of this flail. This was just for an example of why we don't want to use these. Let's go ahead and see what we can get on this two-handed sword. So we're going to roll off the Monster Kills Grant experience. We've got level requirement reduced by 6, we'll take it, but we're gonna keep going. At this point, you should still have a pretty decent number of materials, and so you're just gonna wanna blow all of them to get the best possible roll that you can on this. Okay, so now we got a 24, this is a pretty solid roll, the highest that it can go is 30, but we should be able to use this by level 46. Now we're gonna go ahead and stash this sword for the time being, and we're gonna come back to it later when we can equip it. This is absolutely insane because by the time you hit level 46, or even if you get a better roll than me, let's say you get a perfect roll, by level 40, you can have a level 70 weapon and absolutely mow through the game. Now, once again, we're gonna go ahead and restart the game, but we're gonna amp the difficulty up by quite a bit. I like to start at Torment 2 or 3, just to kind of get a feel for it. You can adjust it as you go along. You're gonna be leveling up really quickly, and you're gonna notice that the higher torments are gonna get more and more difficult as you level up, so it's okay to drop it a level every few runs. At this point, it is very simple. We are just going to keep doing the same thing over and over until we reach max level. What that is you're going to go to Act 2 in Temple of the Firstborn, level 1. You're going to keep resetting this map over and over, and our goal here is to get massive massacre bonuses for huge XP gains where you can gain a multitude of levels all at one time. Once again, remember to drag packs into each other. One tip for this is you're going to want to have a weaker attack and a stronger attack. It is good to have a weak attack because if you've only got one enemy left, you want to chain it into the next pack, but you don't want to kill it. You want to keep hitting it to keep your massacre bonus alive. If you're not hitting enemies, that massacre is going to end and you're going to cash out on the XP. The higher you go, the more you get. Let's go ahead and dive into a bit of a demo on this. Now, once again, I do have to note that this character is on season 28, and so it's going to be quite a bit stronger than your character at this point, and probably a higher level because I am benefiting from the Altar of Rights. So if you have to drop the difficulty a little bit, that is no big deal. We're just keeping our massacre bonus alive. You're often going to see this cursed chest. Hit it immediately. So we keep on making our way through the temple, making sure to keep enemies alive and pull them into more packs. These tome roaches are incredible. They're going to be dropping from the ceiling constantly, and they give a ton of experience by allowing us to build that massacre bonus up in a really big way. I would say while you're going through to worry a little bit less about the gear that drops and a little bit more just about keeping your massacre bonus alive. We can always revisit those Act 3 vendors for some pretty decent upgrades. Of course, if a legendary drops, go ahead and make sure you pick that up, but for the most part, you can ignore the gear drops. Alright, so ours is about to fall off. We got 452 kills, and as you can see, we just gained a ton of levels all at once. Now we're going to port back to town and go ahead and just do it all over again. At this point, you can reset your game, adjust the torment level if it was a little too difficult, or if you were killing enemies a little too quickly, bump it up a bit. Now that we've restarted the game, of course, we have refreshed these vendors, and so let's go ahead and see what kind of gear upgrades we can get. We can get a pretty big damage increase right here, nice toughness boost here, hit up our second vendor, and now this guy is actually going to have a couple of rings and amulets, so make sure to pick those up. At this point, you could just go ahead and rinse and repeat, keep doing Temple of the Firstborn over and over, get those massacre bonuses going. This will absolutely take you all the way to 70. Now, in Season 29, while you're going through the temple, you may notice portals opening up as part of the seasonal theme. Now, if your goal is really to just hit level 70 as fast as possible, I'd say go ahead and ignore those until you get to level 70, and then you can focus on the season theme. Now, one final note that I do want to make real quick, this is a little bit optional, but just a few things that other people like to do. At any point in time, including in the very start of the game, you can always do a quick bounty like kill Zoltan Cool, for example. This is very fast, and at the end you'll get a chest. That chest can drop rubies that you can put in your helm to give additional experience, and they also drop pretty decent gear, so feel free to do this whenever you'd like. It may slow the leveling down a bit, but it's nice to get some pretty good gear. Lastly, if your gambling happens to go really well and you get everything that you want, I would recommend at that point to gamble for helms, to go for a Leoric's crown. By putting a ruby in there, you are going to massively increase the experience that you gain. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.